This meeting of the Bellevue School District Board of Directors is now called to order. We are going to start with the roll call, but we are aware that one of our directors is stuck in traffic.
Phil Block.
Carolyn Watson.
Marta Trilles.
Monica Webster.
Jane will be along soon.
Dr. Heather Sanchez for Dr. Kelly Aramaki.
Okay, great. Can I call on Chief of Staff John Harrison to introduce the student?
That would be great, but I am going to pass the honors to my friend and colleague, Principal Dion Yehudi, to introduce our two wonderful speakers from Newport High School.
Thanks, John. So I'm hoping as a board, you remember that Newport was here earlier this year, and it was our Aspen student leaders that presented some information and shared that. And then you had the chance to come to Newport and do a visit, and we were so glad to have you. A part of your tour included Link Crew, and we talked a long time about the cultural impact Link Crew has on the community at Newport High School. Today, I'm presenting both the senior and the junior group advisors and administrators for Link Crew itself. I'm happy to introduce Avita and Nola.
Okay, so first, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous lands of the Coast Salish peoples, who include the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, and the Snoqualmie peoples. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. We reflect on the historic context that brings us to reside on this land and accept responsibility to interrupt erasure. We are committed to our ongoing partnership with the Snoqualmie tribe as we listen to, learn from, and lead with their guidance.
Okay, so now we're ready for you to tell us whatever you'd like to tell us.
Okay, so I'm Avita.
And I'm Nola.
And we're from Link Crew. Link Crew is a program where upperclassmen help freshmen integrate into the high school community. So they help make the transition from middle school to high school a lot smoother.
Throughout the year, we hold numerous events for the freshmen to provide optimal opportunity for them to bond not only with their Link Crew leader, but as well as other freshmen. We also write cards for them throughout the year to make sure that they feel connected to our community at Newport, as well as we make sure to check in with each and every freshman and give them any news that they have missed throughout the year.
And we personally think that that is what makes Newport Link Crew really stand out from other programs and other schools, because we put a large emphasis on keeping personal relationships with the freshmen. So instead of just, for example, having an orientation at the beginning of the year and calling it a day, we make sure to stay connected throughout the entire year, whether it's through our activities that Nola mentioned or the cards. So that really boosts the relationship from Link Crew leader and freshman to more of a mentor-mentee type of a relationship. And I just think that is so valuable to have that sort of role model that you look up to, especially when you're freshman year, when you're pretty new to the environment and you don't really know what you're doing. Just being able to have that listening ear and that advice from the upperclassmen that knows what they're doing, I just think is really awesome to have. Thank you.
On my microphone. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have the acknowledgements. Here's the slide. Okay. This month is Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Month. It is also Jewish American Heritage Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, Military Appreciation Month, National Physical Education and Sport Month. On the 18th, we will have National Speech Pathologist Day. On the 23rd is the Declaration of the Bob. On the 26th is Memorial Day. And on the 29th is the Ascension of Baha'u'llah. Okay, next, we need to approve the agenda. So I'm going to move that we approve the agenda as written. Is anybody going to second it? All right. Does anybody want to discuss the agenda? Not particularly? Okay. So all those in favor of approving this agenda for tonight, please say aye.
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 So the ayes carry it, and that is approved. All right. So now we're going to do the consent agenda in the same way.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Anybody second that?
Second.
Okay. Anybody want to discuss the consent agenda? No? Okay. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Okay. The consent agenda passes. All right. Wow. We're zooming right along here. Okay. Now, it's time for the superintendent update. And we have Dr. Heather Sanchez tonight because Dr. Aramaki is on an exciting trip to Korea with the,
Yes.
yeah.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Heather Sanchez. I'm current chief of schools, transitioning into the role of chief operating officer, and I am not, in fact, Dr. Aramaki. But I'm happy to be here with you this evening, covering for him. And let's just start with a little bit of, I have a brief update for you. And let's start with where in the world is Dr. Aramaki? So there's a picture of him serving on a panel up at the top of that slide, and he is currently in South Korea. He's attending the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Education Conference, or APEC. This is supported and funded by the Consul General of Korea, so no district dollars were used for him to go on this trip. He's representing our district, particularly with a focus around our language programs, our innovation strategies, our beloved community, and cultivating an inclusive and accessible learning community. So he is there this whole week. He'll be back next week. He's been checking in with us. He's 16 hours ahead. So he's been checking in with us a couple times a day on my way in, which is usually midnight for him. And we just spoke to him, which is I think 4:30 or 5 in the morning for him. So he's working hard and representing our district well. And the top picture is of him speaking on a panel. So we are super proud of him, and we know that he is representing our district and our community really, really well. And we're happy to learn when he returns all of the things that he learned from the schools that he's visiting. He's in Jeju Island. He's on his way to Seoul today, and he'll be visiting some schools in Seoul and visiting with some other superintendents. And so I can't wait to hear all of the cool stuff that he experienced when he's back with us. All right, so a few updates. This slide is an update, not really an update. This is in fact the same slide that we had at the last board meeting. But for our community, it's just an update on where we are with the bills that are currently sitting on the governor's desk. The budget has not yet been signed. We have until the 20th, or the governor, not we, I guess, has until the 20th to sign the budget. And these are the key things just to remind our community of. There's special education funding, MSOC funding, and a particular piece of legislation that would enable us to sell a piece of property if we are in binding conditions, and then a levy LEA piece of funding. You can see that while there is some revenue there that we do anticipate to come in pending the governor's signature, it is less than we had anticipated. However, every bit does help. So this is just a reminder of what is pending approval by the governor. Also, later this evening, we're going to have an update from our budget team, actually here in just a little bit, and the topic of discussion will be an interfund loan. So the team will frame a little bit about why we are pursuing that, what other options we have worked through, and the situation that we find ourselves in terms of our budget and our efforts to make positive steps in that direction. So this is just a brief update of where we are budget-wise in process and the pending pieces of legislation that are anticipating signature. All right, I want to take a moment to shout out all of our students. It is assessment season. I have 3 boys myself. My youngest is a senior and he's surviving AP tests this week. That's why the tables are set up the way that they are right now. Actually, they're set up for advanced placement testing. And I just want to acknowledge to all of our students and all of their families that support them that with Smarter Balance, IB tests, AP testing, all of the grade level tests going on in the spring, it can be a really stressful time for our students and for their families. And so I just want to share a little love with all of our students and all of their families as we make it through assessment season, which will soon come to a close, a joyful close, let's say. All right, so these are just some brief updates on some of the things that are happening in the community as we're out and about. And I want to make some acknowledgements of a few staff along the way. So in recognition of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Month, our schools engage in a lot of activities to celebrate this month. This is just one of them. And this is a photograph of some mystery readers at Stevenson Elementary School. So I want to give a special shout out to Jennifer Ching, who's the librarian at Stevenson Elementary School. And for each recognition month, she invites in a whole bunch of people to come read to classes. And so you get assigned a book, you can read in either English or Spanish, your preference, and you go read grades K through 5. It's a really celebratory event. The students never know who's coming to read, and it's always a lot of fun. So I want to shout out Jennifer Ching, librarian at Stevenson Elementary School. She didn't know I was going to do this, but I hope she's okay with it. And there's a picture of our most recent batch of mystery readers reading there last week. And other happenings, we have a lot of community partners in Bellevue. We're really blessed to have so many positive community partners, and this is one of them. And so I just want to take a moment to shout out Jubilee Reach. They are one of our key community partners, and they do so much for our community. And this is a photo of their annual spring principal partner breakfast. So each fall and each spring, they bring in groups of principals whose school they're in and they support, and they host a breakfast. And so we're able to come in, and this is a picture of some of the principals that benefit from some of the supports of Jubilee Reach. And on the far right there is Randy Eng, who's their executive director. So I thought it might be fun just to get some fun facts for any of our community who might not be aware some of the things that Jubilee Reach does for us. So I'm just going to hit some fun facts. So site coaches, these are individuals who work in our schools full-time and provide social emotional support, mentoring, partnership, general support for our students, funded entirely through Jubilee Reach. We have 33 site coaches within our district, funded entirely through Jubilee Reach at 17 unique schools. They host a total of 175 clubs and intramural activities, everything from soccer to cooking club to sewing club in our schools and many things beyond. They sponsor annual programs for adults to learn English, serving on average 230 to 250 adults in our Bellevue School District community. They also have a program called Groceries for Families, where they regularly provide groceries for 400 of our Bellevue School District families. They have a giant Jubilee Reach Service Day every August to help us prepare for the school year, where they set up classrooms, pressure wash, lunchroom tables, and things like that. And they serve 25 locations on their service day. And they also serve, if that weren't enough, they do projects for homeowners. And this year, they did 124 separate projects serving homeowners. And our cabinet team each August participates in one of those. We've done everything from taking a roof off a shed to painting to cleaning yards. And we do this every August. And then we have about 1,200 students that are served annually as part of their Jubilee Elves program. So just a shout out to our Jubilee Reach partners. Thank you so much for all that you do for our community. We're very grateful for your partnership. Okay, another fun update. Our Welcome Center has long been under construction. And so I thought I would share an update with the community. This is the front desk to the Welcome Center, which is now also funded through our capital fund dollars. I just want to point that out, not the general fund. And it's in, and you can see they're still developing it because you can see there's a little bit of construction still there in the background. But that is Kelly Taylor seated there, and she's our Director of Early Learning and Family Engagement. And she's seated there with her son, Sam, who's a UW student and is volunteering at the desk. So it's up, it's running, and this is a space where families can come in if they need assistance with anything at all, really. They can come in, and it's right across the street in our central office buildings, and we will get them connected with the support that they need. All right, so my last section of updates. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and we did not have a board meeting. And so Dr. Aramaki did a blog celebrating our educators. We also had many members of our community and our schools that did. But I thought as part of the superintendent updates this week that I would spotlight a few teachers. So I would say that we want to celebrate every single one of the educators in our school system and beyond that are serving students every day. This is not a job for the faint of heart. It is a difficult job. It is also, I think, the highest calling career-wise there is out there. So we thought it might be fun as part of the updates to spotlight a few teachers. We can't spotlight every single one of them. So we put some feelers out and we asked for some feedback. And so it is my honor to tell you a little bit more about 3 educators. And so I'm going to tell you a little story and a little bit about them. So each of these 3 we reached out to and asked them, what do you love most about teaching? And what's one fun fact that people might not know about you that might be fun for them to know? So I'm just going to do a little framing and give some special attention to these 3 educators. Okay, first we have Mandy Sin. Mandy is a kindergarten teacher at Cherry Crest Elementary School. I first met Mandy in the fall of 2019 when she taught at Wilburton Elementary School, and she was in the fall of her very first year of teaching kindergarten. And I dropped into her classroom with her principal, and I found myself seated on the carpet with the kids, crisscross applesauce, and I just lost track of time. And so the principal at the time was Beth Hamilton, and she was like, Heather, we got to go. But that's the kind of classroom community that Mandy cultivates in her kindergarten classroom. So when asked about what she loves most about teaching, Mandy said, my favorite thing about teaching is making learning chance, total physical response, and seeing my students engage with big smiles. When asked, what's one fun fact? She said, one fun fact about me is that I can create a learning chant using total physical response on any topic or learning fact. And then on the right there is a picture of her leading a, guess what, total physical response chant in her kindergarten classroom. So a special shout out to Mandy and all that she does for our littlest learners within our Bellevue School District community. All right, next I want to spotlight Ana Garcia. Ana is currently a 5th grade dual language teacher at Sherwood Forest Elementary School. She has also taught at Highland Middle School. I had the distinct honor of hiring Ana when she came to Bellevue 13 years ago. So I'll tell you just a brief little story. Here I was, the principal of Ardmore, sitting in my office, late July. I had a late resignation. And I'm like, oh gosh, when you get a late resignation, sometimes it's hard to find somebody. So I crack open the application portal and I'm looking in there and I see her resume, Ana Garcia out of Yuma, Arizona. And I thought, well, her resume looks good. I'm going to call her. I think she's in Yuma, but we can do a phone interview. So I call Ana. I say, hey, Ana, I know it's like late July, but I have this opening that just came up. And she said, oh, I'm in town. My brother and I just moved to Seattle and I'm in town. What time would you like me to come by the school? So I interviewed her, and 13 years later, she's still with us at Sherwood Forest Elementary School. Phenomenal teacher. And so Ana says, when asked what she loves most about teaching, she says, what I love most about teaching might be that there can never be just one thing to love when you work with young human beings. They are the most loving, accepting, and forgiving people who open their hearts up to me daily. What on earth did I do to receive this? Working with young students for nearly 20 years means that they have shaped such a huge part of who I am, and for that I will be eternally grateful. Anna goes on to say, one fun fact about me is that even though I had wanted to be a teacher from a very young age, I took a detour from that dream before arriving full circle back to teaching and studied studio art at ASU and graduated with a degree in studio ceramics. So there is always a creative project to work on in my life. When I told Anna that we wanted to spotlight her, she said, "Oh, Heather, my mommy and my papi are going to be so excited." And so I think they might be tuning in tonight. And if they're not, this is recorded, so they might be watching. So I will say, para los padres, para Ana, su hija es muy, muy especial maestra. Su maestra es muy, muy phenomenal. Felicidades, padres. So to her parents, congratulations, you raised an awesome kid. Last but not least, we want to spotlight Lorenda Flickema, who teaches at Sammamish High School. So I did not personally know Lorenda, so I had to put out some feelers and say, who should we spotlight? And I got so many recommendations for Lorenda. And I was actually speaking with our secondary chief of schools, Aaron Miller, and I said, tell me a story about Lorenda. Tell me a little bit about her. And he said, Heather, I was an assistant principal for 1 year at Sammamish High School a long time ago. And I walked into Lorenda's classroom and I felt like time stopped. And Lorenda once told me, give me any kid in my calculus class, any kid, and they will be successful in this class. So here's what Lorenda said about why she loves to teach. I love teaching because teaching is coaching. I love coaching students every day to be the best version of themselves. No matter what the subject is, I love helping students realize that through hard work and dedication, any goals they set are attainable. I love watching them celebrate their successes, and I enjoy coaching them when they fall and helping them navigate a different way to approach a problem or life. Teaching is my passion, and I love showing up every day to be the best possible role model for students. And the fun fact about Lorenda is, in 7th grade, I told my teacher I was going to become a high school math teacher and a girls basketball coach. Wow, she knew that early on exactly what she wanted to do, and she's doing it. And I don't want to embarrass her, but Lorenda's here this evening. So if you could just, let's give her... She did not have to come, but thank you so much for coming. And so I just wanted to take a moment. Again, we have so many educators in our community that are so special, and you really are changing lives each and every day. And we just want to share how much we love and care about you. And I will share, when I think back to my own upbringing, when I think about what I learned, I don't necessarily remember the content, but I remember Mrs. Rich, who was my 1st grade teacher at Wary Elementary School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Mrs. Gurule, who was my 3rd grade teacher at White Mountain Elementary School in Ruidoso, New Mexico. Mr. Montaño, who was my 7th grade science teacher at Van Buren Middle School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Mr. Vasquez, who was my counselor at Highland High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Go Fighting Hornets. So I just want to close by sharing that our educators leave an impression to each one of you out there this evening. I bet you every single person sitting here could think back to the face of a teacher that made a lasting impression on your life. And so there are not enough words to express how grateful we are, how much we celebrate you, and how thankful we are for all that you do to serve our students and our community every day. And on that note, that concludes my superintendent remarks.
Okay, thank you. I would like to note that Director Jane Aris is here. There was some fierce traffic out there. Yeah. Okay, now it's time for public comment. And I rely on Chief of Staff Harrison for that.
We have a full house of public commenters. We have the maximum number. I believe they're all in person. Is that correct, Ms. Nimela? nine in person, one online. So would you like to give the guidelines and then once you're done that, I'll give them the process and then we can get started.
Yeah, we need the guideline slide, please. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to summarize a few things that are on this slide. So basically, because we have a lot of other things that we have to do in a school board meeting, we can only have 2 minutes for each commenter, but we can have up to 10 commenters. And we also ask that you try to stick to the standards of civility that the board imposes on itself. So therefore, let's not have any comments that are libelous or slanderous, an unwarranted invasion of privacy, nothing obscene or indecent pursuant to the Federal Communications Act or any rule of the FCC. Don't violate school policy or procedure relating to harassment, intimidation, bullying, discrimination. Please don't incite an unlawful act on school premises or violate a lawful school regulation, or please don't create a material and substantial disruption of the orderly operation of the school board meeting. But with that said, and everything up there on the slide, now it's time for comments.
All right, I think tonight we will start with our online person. Just before we do that, as President Watson indicated, each speaker has 2 minutes. There will be a clock on the top left-hand corner that starts counting down from 2 minutes. So please keep your eye on your time. And for the person following the speaker, once that clock starts to wind down toward the end, if you could get ready to make your way to the podium here. And the first thing we'd like you to do is state your name for the record and then make your comment. So we'll see if Miranda is available and enable her mic and hear her comment.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Oh, are you able to hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. My name is Miranda Eisman. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. I have 2 children at Cherry Crest Elementary, and I'm speaking with you about my concerns with EdTech. I became curious 2 years ago when my 5-year-old was given a school-issued, fully internet-connected device with access to the social media platform YouTube. After growing more concerned, I partnered with a local consulting group in the EdTech Law Center to learn more. I want to share with everyone 4 harms I've learned about EdTech. Harm number 1, student privacy. EdTech is a danger to student privacy. The average school district uses over 2,000 EdTech tools, and nearly all are plagued with data and privacy issues. Almost all these applications sell children's data to third parties. This also makes them vulnerable to cyber attacks. Compounding these issues is that of legal consent. My 2nd grader was asked to sign a user agreement before utilizing any of the school-issued devices or required EdTech platforms. 7-year-olds cannot provide meaningful legal consent. Harm number 2, displacement. Screens displace other critical skills. We have decades of research about what children need to thrive and develop, none of which requires a screen. The addictive design of these game platforms are especially damaging to young developing brains. Furthermore, my children tell me how they earn extra screen time for being good in the classroom. The mission of Cherry Crest Elementary is to prepare all students to become lifelong learners through inquiry, collaboration, and discovery. There's little collaboration and discovery happening by scrolling YouTube at your own desk with headphones on. Harm number 3, learning. EdTech tools do not improve learning outcomes. Research suggests that students generally learn more and retain more information and do it better when reading in print and engaging with paper. Yet I see the opposite. And a teacher at our school told me that due to the budget cuts, they are being asked to use less paper and to do more on the school-issued devices. Harm number 4, teaching. EdTech harms teachers in teaching. We are fundamentally changing the nature of the student-teacher relationship. EdTech companies have made it known that they view the role of a teacher as guide on the side, even though it is in direct opposition to what children need. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Stein,
And I'm Kelly Silver.
and we are board members on what used to be called the Community Truancy Board, but is now the Student Engagement Board. I've been on this board working with students for, I think, 13 years now. And Kelly's been doing it for, I think, at least
7 or 8, yeah.
And we meet with students weekly, students for whom school is not working out, typical school is not working out for a variety of reasons, whether it's mental health issues, anxiety, physical, medical issues that keep them from school, needing to work to help support their families or stay home to help take care of siblings. And we have found that for many of these children, the best way to get them back learning and engaged with education is through the RISE program that Glenn Hasslinger runs, currently out of Highland Middle School. These kids, we can follow them. They are going to class, they are completing their education, they are using an alternative pathway to be successful, which is the goal for all of the students. Currently, the program is at capacity, it's over capacity. And our hands are tied on the board for referring these kids and helping these kids find ways to meet their educational goals if there is not a place for us to send them and to help them. And I respectfully ask that we be the voice of these kids who generally don't hear from, and provide the funding to allow us to help them be successful students, successful people, and to finish with an education from Bellevue that sets them up to be successful members of society.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Naomi James and my child attends Somerset Elementary School. I'm here today to share my safety concerns about Somerset's new 8:05 a.m. start time. My child rides the bus to school and boards along a busy road that serves as the main thoroughfare for traffic entering and exiting the neighborhood from the Factoria side. With this proposed earlier start time, Somerset students will now be walking on roads at the same time as Newport High students and commuters are rushing to work and school. This road has long stretches without sidewalks, and while speed bumps are in place, speeding remains common along this road. If Somerset shifts to the 8:05 start time, students will be walking to the bus stop in some areas as early as 8 a.m. in darkness for much of the winter. On my road, there are no designated pedestrian crossings, making it unsafe for children who need to cross, especially in these low light conditions. Icy sidewalks and roads, combined with increased traffic, raise serious safety concerns amongst parents. I'm especially worried about students walking in areas with no sidewalks and poor visibility. Inadequate street lighting further compromises safety in the early morning hours. I'm also very concerned about my designated snow route bus stop, which is half a mile from my house at a busy intersection used by many students. This past winter, sidewalks were not cleared and we had to walk on packed ice for a week. In some areas without sidewalks, we were forced into the road, significantly increasing the risk. BSD has told us that they routinely drive up Somerset's Hill during inclement weather to assess road safety, an acknowledgement of the unique challenges our neighborhood faces. When Somerset remains open, it signals to families that BSD believes these conditions are safe, but based on my experience, it's not always the case. This past winter, Somerset was closed on a day when all other BSD schools remained open, showing that our area often has more severe weather. While families are allowed to excuse absences for safety concerns, this puts Somerset students at a disadvantage. They're more likely to miss school due to closures, leading to unequal learning time across the district and raising questions about fairness. Please reconsider the 8:05 start time and return to 9:05, a schedule that already works well for Somerset families. At the very least, please address our safety concerns. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, esteemed directors and Dr. Sanchez. My name is Melissa Taylor, and I teach dual language science in Spanish at the 7th and 8th grade levels at Highland Middle School. I am also the classroom-based student services representative to the BEA Executive Board. Today, I urge you to prioritize reducing class size and caseload targets as part of the district's financial recovery plan. This year, I have had the pleasure of teaching 70 bilingual 7th grade students in 3 sections of dual language science. These classes were reasonably sized, allowing me to get to know each and every one of my students on a personal level. I was able to differentiate to a wide variety of needs, run Tier 2 literacy small groups, plan culturally responsive lessons, connect with families, and give meaningful, supportive feedback to my students who are acquiring English as their second, third, or fourth language. I have seen high engagement, minimal behavior concerns, students taking pride in their work, and true community and collaboration in my 7th grade classes. I know that my ability to build authentic relationships has played a critical role in the success I have seen from my incredible students this year. Notably, it has also been the most enjoyable and professionally fulfilling year of my entire career as an educator. As a dual language teacher, I often feel I'm swimming upstream because American public education was not built for kids like mine. Next year, I will be swimming upstream with a lead weight dragging me down because my 70 students will be crammed into 2 sections of 35 students each, a total of 14 students over our collective bargaining agreement class size target. This will lead to fewer family contacts, relationships that are superficial only, cursory feedback, limited differentiation, more challenging behaviors, and less joy. Also, because 3 course sections will be collapsed into 2, I will likely be assigned a third prep to teach outside of 7th and 8th grade dual language science, which means preparing a third set of lessons and materials on a daily basis. This further limits my capacity to serve my kids and their families. Please remember, as we work toward financial stability, that educator working conditions are student learning conditions, and reducing class sizes for our most marginalized students must be prioritized. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Reagan Lorden, and tonight I'm actually speaking on behalf of a teacher, Ethan Purcell of Newport High School. Good evening. My name is Ethan Purcell, and I'm currently a physics teacher at Newport High School. I'm also a non-continuing staff member and one who is not returning to my school next year. I am aware of the difficult choices that must be made during a budget crisis like the district faces. This is not me here to lambaste anyone or to offer alternatives, but wanted to use this opportunity to put a human face to the hurt that every school in the district is experiencing and will continue to experience throughout the next year. When news started going around Newport about how much we may lose next year, I saw teachers crying, not for themselves, but for their friends and for the ones they cared about. And then I heard from my admin a week after spring break that I was not returning to Newport, not because of anything I had done, not because they didn't think I was a good fit, but because there wasn't money for me. I broke down that day. I felt I was being kicked out of a place that I had started thinking of as a home. Next year, I was going to teach a course that I helped to start, a course that got a lot of students excited. It made me proud and happy and even sadder because suddenly all of this work wasn't enough. It would never be enough to keep my job. I thought about the students I had, the students that make me smile every day, make me laugh, make me love what I do, and I sobbed. When my coworkers found out, the pain hit again, the frustration and sadness knowing I was gone hurt. My mentor teacher and another physics teacher, 2 men who have taken me under their wing, who have fought like hell for me, told me that they would help me in any way because I was worth fighting for. They were upset, frustrated, and sad for me, and I broke, realizing I may never get to work with them again. I told my students, and the overwhelming reaction was disbelief and sadness. 2 of my students sobbed. One of them, between tears, told me they didn't want me to leave, that I was her favorite teacher, that I couldn't leave her. Another just said, in the saddest tone I've ever heard him say, that it wasn't fair. One of my sophomores mentioned that a lot of them had signed up for physics for me. It made me happy, which made the hurt of leaving them worse. These kids who I've helped, who I adore and adore them in turn, have to say goodbye to me, and I have to say goodbye to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Annette Williamson, and I'm a senior at Sammamish High School. I'm here today to represent the Art Student Coalition, or ASC, ASK. ASK is a student advocacy group made up of BSD performing arts students formed in response to the budget cuts the performing arts have been facing. Obviously, during the past year, the words budget and cuts have been the most difficult to hear. But I feel it is important to share with you how your decisions impact us. At my school, many performances and festivals had to be canceled. But these opportunities are essential to what we do in the classroom. At festivals, we perform, meet professional musicians, and have clinics. Performance and receiving feedback are essential to the growth of musicians, but this key aspect of the performing arts is at risk. Additionally, we have lost multiple teachers and we struggle to repair many instruments that students need to participate in class. With schools being left to fundraise based on the parents in the community, we have created further inequality in our school district. Schools with wealthier families receive more money for the essential needs of their performing arts programs, but other schools are forced to scramble to find the funds. Basic educational needs and the quality of our performing arts programs should not be left up to the wealth of families. This is a fundamental aspect. This is a fundamental aspect we need to change. I hope we can continue to have these discussions and that this can be the start to a lasting collaboration with performing arts students and the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amy Lennox, and I'm a longtime parent and volunteer in our district. Our 4 children have attended BSD schools, our youngest being medically complex with other challenges. I want to share my concerns around the budget cuts that I don't hear people raise. With budget challenges, your commitment to equity for disabled students and families will lose ground without mindful attention on how decisions impact those with disabilities. BSD policies notwithstanding, people don't always address equity in cuts. Even on the outside, it can look like changes are fulfilling your equity intent. For inclusion, I appreciate that BSD policies talk about full engagement, feeling safe, and not being excluded from their peers. Done well, inclusion benefits all students. At its core, inclusion is about everyone participating in the community, understanding and removing barriers to access and people being missed if they aren't there. What your policies gloss over is that inclusion is about a larger system, not just classrooms. What isn't inclusion? Putting students who spend limited time in gen ed into a classroom and calling it inclusion, where leadership doesn't really know them or their needs. Parents have no way to know if it is done well until it is too late. Disabled students lose educational opportunities when staff figure it out along the way. So you must ask staff, how is inclusion in new locations being done? Is it with fidelity? Inclusion requires broad awareness and commitment across a building. I don't see our district requiring that investment from staff before moving ahead with inclusion at a school. That investment is a cost you are even less likely to make in the current environment. Ask what other cuts will impact disabled students disproportionately. How are staff being set up for success? Look beyond words to actual implementations. There were mentions at school board meetings of elevators not working this year. Accessing a building matters just like accessing education. Cuts or delayed access can cause more than just inconveniences to students with mobility challenges or learning disorders or with anxiety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. My name is Mario Palacios, and this is Jill Suresh. We are with the MLL department. For the past 2 years, I've been working as a newcomer navigator with students and families who speak more than one language and are new to our country. It has become very clear that responsibilities encompassed in this role are necessary for these students' civil rights to be met under state law. I strongly feel that having a dedicated person as a case manager and collaborator with pertinent stakeholders is paramount now more than ever. Due to our time, I will share just a few highlights of my role. I start by welcoming students with a holistic interview to learn more about the students' previous learning experience, interests, and goals. I work closely with counselors and the registrar to ensure appropriate class placements and to share vital information with pertinent staff. I communicate and work with families as needed. I help students become familiar with apps used in the classroom. I mentor and guide students to ensure academic plan success, setting goals, monitoring attendance and truancy, fostering positive behaviors in and out of the classroom. I've been a safe adult during this current political immigration crisis. I have helped several students whose lives have drastically changed. I have focused on our newcomers, but this role has also expanded to continuously support all our MLO students, both sheltered and mainstream. The district's 2025-26 school budget parameters state that the goals are to maintain equitable support and belonging. The newcomer navigator role embodies these parameters, meeting the needs of students who do not feel like they belong. We are perplexed as to why the district just months ago highlighted and applauded the newcomer navigator role to you as board of directors, but when funding is limited, one of the first things cut is this position. At the same time, everyone was reassured that the advanced learning program is not having cuts. Please correct us if this is inaccurate or was misunderstood. During these tumultuous times, Bellevue School District should be going out of their way to continue supporting and protecting one of their most vulnerable populations. Therefore, we wonder why advanced learning is not being affected by the budget cuts, but vital roles such as the newcomer navigator are being eliminated. We thank you for listening to our concerns.
Thank you.
My name is Joseph. I found a pixel to mile ratio with the
Just to give a little context, Joseph had come and presented some work that he had done on a solar eclipse experiment on April 8th, 2024. And he wanted to explain a little bit more of the math to you so you understood it.
so basically for the sun, I found a pixel to mile ratio. A pixel is roughly 808 miles. I saw solar prominence. I caught it on camera. It grew by 12 pixels in a minute. That's pretty fast. So it's 12 pixels is 1.2 times the diameter of the Earth. The diameter of the Earth is 7,926 miles. What I said a few seconds ago times 1.2 1 pixel equals 800 miles. 12 pixels equals of 696 miles in 1 minute. I'm done.
Thank you.
Hello, this is a continuation of the public comment from April 17th, which was a continuation of the public comment from March 20th. What we learned in that time frame from your March 20th meeting was the children with disabilities in the district are all failing, and there was confusion as to why that would be. We found out from the public comments on March 20th that the children with disabilities were not receiving appropriate resources, which was a violation of WAC 392-172A. And we also found out that sometimes when people want to get rid of families with children with IEPs and disabilities, they make fake CPS claims, which is a violation of RCW 26.44.060, Section 4, which is a misdemeanor crime. What we found out at the last meeting on April 17th, when I gave you this information, which is extremely important as a school board that you have, we found out some very strange information about Shannon McMenemy. I guess your council was involved in some insurrection, perhaps Chad's CHOP, allegedly, supposedly. So if she wasn't able to give you those RCWs and WACs, I'm glad that I was able to do that for you, so you're welcome. Now, let's talk about other factors why children with disabilities are failing across the district. One is bullying. When a child doesn't get adequate resources in the classroom and they're not able to complete the assignments, they are teased by their peers. As you saw, Joseph, well, if you haven't given him an award yet, I'm sure you will soon, because clearly he did work that even people in college don't even do. and in the fourth grade, yet he can't meet grade standards because that was never actually part of his IEP, which I found out on May 6th. I'll continue this at the next school board meeting.
Thank you. Okay. So that, I believe, concludes public comments for today. And now we are moving on to board business. And the first element that we have of board business is the approval of Resolution 2025-3 interfund loan for fiscal year 2025. So we're going to have you introduce that topic.
Good evening, board. Can you go to the next slide, Monica? So I wanted to give a little feedback on what we've done, where we're at, and some of the other options we either took off the table or just can't utilize. The steps we've taken already, we've done the CPF transfer. We still have some transfer there. We have implemented cost reductions this year, trying to reduce as much as we can. One of the things we've talked about in our study sessions was doing an apportionment advancement. After we did a bunch of the paperwork and homework into that, we found out that it wasn't going to really help us because of the way we had to pay it back. We would have got the money this month. Yeah. We would have had to pay 50% back and then the rest. So it wasn't really going to pan out for us, which has left us really with the interfund loan from the capital projects. Some of the reasons of why, one, it's kind of like the last tool we have. This is kind of like the last measure for us to help get some cash flow so that we can pay the bills the rest of this year. It provides us flexibility, so we don't have to pull all the money at once. We can pull what we need, not just one whole lump sum. And then we'll only pay interest on what we borrow. If you want to go to the next one, Monica. So one of the questions that was asked on Monday was what it would cost like. So we kind of put together some numbers. In June, we expect to transfer about 2.5 million. July, 5 million, and then in August, 2.5. So it'll be a total of about 10 million we'll actually transfer. The max interest that we've calculated is if the interest rate was at 5%, currently it's at 4.3, but I'm being a little bit conservative. That could change. And that is if we was to take the full 12 months to pay back 2.5, it would cost us $128,000. In total, that's 512. That is a expenditure we have to put on our books that will be on there for 25, 26, because that is an additional cost to the district that was not part of it. So that's kind of the month, or for the months as the amounts will be transferring over, and then the interest rates the max that would be associated with those. The resolution is up to 13 million. We're not anticipating needing that, but we wanted to put a little bit of cushion in there. I can't predict every unexpected expenditure that might come our way yet.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm now going to open it up to board directors to ask any further questions they may have on this. So is anybody raising their hand? All right, okay. I think Jane raised her physical hand 1 microsecond before Director Webster got hers. So
let
Director
Webster. Let Director Webster.
All right, Director Webster.
Oh, okay. Thanks. You could have gone first. It would have been okay. But thank you all so much for just making a concession for me to participate virtually. I apologize for not being there in person. But yeah, and thank you, Jason, for your presentation. I know that, our board and your finance team have had lots of conversations about this already. So I don't have any pressing questions, but I just do have kind of an ask, and then one thing that I wanted to offer to our community. I'd like to request that we incorporate a graph or any associated data that's related to our repayment progress when that time comes, so that we're able to share that information and bring our community along in that process. So if we can make a note to incorporate that information in our regular board updates when the time comes, that'd be great. And then secondly, I really just want to share with our community that applying for this loan was something that we carefully considered and is a temporary solution to help get us through this financial challenge. We have a clear understanding of what our repayment plan options are, and we're going to keep you informed throughout this process. So thank you again, Jason, and that's all I got. Thanks.
Okay, Director Aris? Yeah.
Hi, Jason. I think I emailed you, and I don't know if you received my email. So I'm just kind of following up on that. I unfortunately missed the meeting on Monday, but I'm curious to know if the amount that you're estimating that we'll need incorporates any possibility of delay from our federal funds, and was that thought through? Just making sure that, or are we looking at it when, if there is a delay, we'll address it at that time?
We're working on contingency plans as it evolves back in Washington, D.C., like what the potentials are. The latest ones out there is Title III. What happens if it goes away? We get about $300,000 to $500,000 in Title III funding. So we're trying to gather all that up and make contingencies. If that funding was to go away, what would that look like for the district? What would we have to do to make sure that we can continue, having those services that those fundings provided? We haven't really said this funding would help cover any of those costs. That would be for 25, 26. This is really just to help get us from this point till August 31st.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, I have a question. I would just like you to clarify for the community, who exactly are we paying this interest to?
The interest is being paid to the Bellevue School District. So we're borrowing money from ourselves out of the capital fund, of the capital funds. Why that money's sitting at King County, it actually grows interest on it. And so what we're doing is we are paying back what that money would have grown at King County. So that interest is really, we're paying ourselves back the money that would have been lost with the not paying it.
I think it's important that people know that. Anybody else? Yeah, Director Block.
I want to reiterate Director Webster's comment about, I think that it would be prudent for us to have a monthly status report that clearly shows the loan status and interest payments associated with it, much like we would on a normal loan. I've heard you refer to this as kind of like a revolving fund, and at times not a revolving fund, but something that you don't need to take all of the loan at one time. I guess I'm just trying to understand, because you just characterized this as primarily for the 24-25 school year and requested the authorization up to $13 million. You're anticipating needing approximately $10 million. Does the loan authorization expire after the August 31st period as this is written? I'm just trying to understand that, I guess.
This resolution will expire, like we would not be able to take any money after August 31st. So if we need to do something 25, 26, we have to come back to you to seek approval again for a different resolution.
I appreciate that. That really addresses my other question that I had written out. So the only other point that I want to make, and I want to make this for the listening public and the community, is this has been a long trail of tracking the budget this year with the initial downward adjustments of the fund balance that I believe we heard about in November, additional adjustments to the annual budget that have been ongoing since that date. Between those two measures, we are now projecting to have this negative fund balance. And really, the inability to cut more from the budget is because of when these changes happened. That the school's budget really is more or less set in August. So when we approved a budget in August with what we believed was a higher fund balance and rosier assumptions for revenue for this year, we projected having a positive fund balance at the end of this year. And decisions were made at that point in time based on the information that we had at that point in time. Some of that information has turned out to be mistaken or based on bad assumptions. And while we have tried to make adjustments and cuts, there is only so much that can be done during the school year because most of the contracts are annual contracts. And if I've mischaracterized any of that, please feel free to correct that. But that is
pretty much accurate. The vast majority of the expenditures, 85% of it is in salaries and benefits. So once the school year starts, there's not much reductions you can make that would not impact that. So.
And because of that, some of the greater need for cuts is going into the 25-26 school year budget. So thank you.
Great. Director Ars?
I just want to make sure, get a little bit of a clarification for our community. You said that when we borrow or when we do an interfund loan, we are paying interest to ourselves. To which pocket does that interest go into?
It goes back into the capital funds.
Thank you.
Director Trias, do you have anything? No, we're good. I'm going to point out, I kind of let this get out of control. We're supposed to batch and then answer, but we did okay. All right. So that said, we have a copy of the resolution somewhere.
Yeah, Monica, can you bring it up, or
Yeah. Do we have a
it's on the screen?
written copy somewhere of the proposed resolution?
Here.
Okay, well, we need to get the resolution in front of one of our board members so they can.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-03.
Second.
Okay, would there be any further discussion from the board on this? No? Okay, I'm going to say, all those in favor of approving this resolution, please say aye.
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 I think that's everybody, so the motion carries, the resolution carries. All right.
And just to clarify for the public, that document, the actual resolution, supporting documents are posted to the agenda.
Okay, great. Okay. So the next topic for discussion is liaisons to other organizations. And I believe that the thing here is that we normally do this in December, but with the resignation of Director Cindy Rogan, she was covering 2 liaisonships. One of them was Jubilee Reach and the other was Bellevue PTSA Council. And I know that Director Trias has expressed interest in working with Jubilee Reach, and I was the sub for Director Rogan for the PTSA Council, so I would suggest that I be allowed to continue subbing until the term is over. But now we are going to open this up for discussion and board approval because that's what we do.
So I'm going to raise one side issue, not related to those 2 liaisonships. I've become aware that we do not appear to have any liaisonship with Bellevue College. And given the significant number of Bellevue School District students that engage with Bellevue College through the Running Start program and other programs, as well as graduating and transitioning there, I think it is prudent for us to consider developing a liaison relationship with Bellevue College.
Okay, I'll react to that. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. The only issue is bandwidth because the number of liaisonships that we have. Director, I always I got to find a title, right? Chief of Staff. It's a big title. John Harrison, would you like to say something about the policy or procedure?
So you do have a policy called liaisons to other organizations that basically says that it's entirely up to you if, in fact, you would like to establish a liaisonship with another organization. And typically, when you appoint those liaison positions, is your first meeting in December. Although you're not prohibited from creating a liaisonship at any time, I would suggest that maybe this is something that talk about it at agenda planning and maybe come back at and discuss a little bit more.
Being completely transparent, I was not necessarily suggesting that we would assign a liaison today. Seeing this on the agenda, I am taking advantage of the opportunity to raise it for consideration when we next appoint and develop liaisons.
Okay.
That makes it clear. Thank you, Director Block.
Would anybody else have something to add? Okay, I was going to just ask, do you want to do it? But anyway, I guess we'll leave that till a future meeting. All right, so do we need some kind of a motion or informal agreement, or what do we need on the liaisons?
I think we did a motion before, so is that what you need?
Yeah, the policy calls for any liaison to an organization to be a majority vote of the board. This is just completing the term. However, I think it would be prudent to put forward a motion and discuss it and hopefully pass it.
So if I understand correctly, Carolyn, you're proposing that you take on the PTSA for the balance of the term, and Marta, you're proposing you take on Jubilee Reach?
Yes, that's correct.
So I move to appoint Marta Trias as board liaison to Jubilee Reach and Carolyn Watson as board liaison to the PTSA Council for the 2025 year.
And I'll
Second.
Sorry. All right. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, so we have new assignments. Okay, we are just moving right along here, which is great because we've got like huge study sessions coming up. So the next thing on our agenda is director discussion. And let's see where we are from 5:30 to 5:45. So we're a little bit behind on this estimation. So let's see, let's take what, can we survive with 2 minutes each? Okay, all right, who'd like to go first? You would, okay. Director Block?
So first I want to recognize the working groups I'm a part of. Both the Welcome Center and Sustainability Working Groups have had meetings in the past 2 weeks and continue to work, move forward with those. It's exciting to see the pictures that Superintendent stand-in Sanchez showed. Acting superintendent. So that was wonderful. Also, it was great to see the recognition for teachers earlier today. Seeing this is definitely award season and recognition time, and I know that the teachers are both dealing with some challenging times with some of the budget issues, but also it's a time of celebration too, to see the success that their students have had over the year and feedback that they're getting. I was able to experience a little tiny taste of teaching today and just before this in an AP Environmental Studies class. And it was fun to see all the different levels of engagement from the student who was falling asleep in the back of the classroom that I got to call out to the ones who are really excited and engaged and asking questions throughout the whole time. I have a wondering that I'm going to use the rest of my time on, which is the school district adopted an open enrollment policy a bit ago. I'm not exactly sure exactly what the date was on that. And it seems to me that it is ripe to have a study session that focuses on how that's going so that we can review and consider the financial information, pros and cons around that, get a better understanding of some of the characteristics of the students that are choosing to join the district through that process, ensuring that we have a consistency in how the open enrollment process is being described to students and families that are exploring enrollment, and to ensure that we are having appropriate supports for families and students as they join the district, including differences in district curriculum between Bellevue School District and the districts they may be joining us from. Thank you.
Good. Who's next? Director Trias?
Well, I would like also to give a hands up to all our teachers for the teacher appreciation. And I also know that we also had some appreciation for other staff, right? And I went, for example, to the nutrition staff appreciation, and that was amazing. So it's amazing that students, parents, leaders, they are all there to appreciate our staff and our educators. And even though these times are tough, and there are people that that non-continuing teachers that they are not going to come back, they are still doing 100%, and they are still there for our students. And kudos to that. Also, I would like to say big kudos for our dual language and immersion and language programs.
for leading the work and being an example for the Washington State and the OSPI. So we are having these language programs that they are very innovative and they are learning for us. So please, teaching and learning, keep going and doing this amazing work. And I would like to say that express a concern also about our chronic truancy, and that was related also with the rise and with the figure that the multilingual language navigator are going to disappear for next school year. So I am worried. I am worried about chronic absenteeism, and I would like that we can work together to improve the rates and to figure out the root causes, to do workshop with our families, and well, maybe that would be a thing that we can consider in the future to study deeper.
Who's next? Director Webster. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
In the wrong direction. Yeah.
I want to say thank you to all of our educators for your hard work and your dedication. Your efforts make a big difference in the lives of our students, and I just want to say that I appreciate everything that you do to support and inspire them every day. And a special shout out to you, Dr. Sanchez, for providing those thoughtful highlights with you of our dynamic educators. It was really great to hear how you celebrate them and how the district has celebrated them. And a special thank you to Mandy, Anna, and Lorinda for all that you do to support our students. I also, to Director Block's point, would certainly welcome an opportunity to better understand our plan for open enrollment in terms of what ongoing supports and adjustments might be needed or things that might be considered as needing to be adjusted in our school buildings. We haven't offered this opportunity historically, so I know that there are many opportunities for us to learn and make any necessary adjustments to ensure that students who are newer to our system are able to participate fully and successfully in their new schools. So I totally second and support a study session to better understand how we can make that happen. And then the last thing is just really just an expression of gratitude to Jess and our IT team for the tremendous job that you all do in supporting this online option for our community, and obviously the board as well. This is my first time having to participate in this capacity, and I really wouldn't be able to do it without you, and didn't want to miss the meeting. So thank you for being so remarkable. And that's it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. All right, Director Ars.
Okay, well, I will put my support on the study session for open enrollment as well. I'm curious to know, I know that one of the idea of doing that was to fill our buildings and help. It's a stopgap act, not necessarily forever. So I'm curious to know where we are at right now. Are buildings at capacity, or are they healthy enough that we could start thinking about closing? What is the cost benefit analysis on that? So I like that idea. It'd be great to have that on our books. I want to make sure to say a couple things. I had a chance to be on a DAC. I am thankful that we have a system like DAC, and where we have a team that is working together to thoughtfully think through each situation and do the best we can in advice. And it's sad that we have to have it, but I'm glad that we have it at the same time. I appreciate that we are being thoughtful every step of the way when there's difficult situations. As being a Youth Link liaison, I was told to invite the rest of the board to the next, I think it's the 35th annual award ceremony, which they'll be putting on May 28th from 6 to 8 at the City Hall. And they've been very clearly asked of me to invite the board. So if you can put that in your calendar, that'd be great. And the third thing, I want to share a little story. Years ago, when we're looking at, do we follow which Spanish program, which high school do we go to for my daughter? And we visited Sammamish, and I had the most pleasant experience. There was a group of students who were in debate because I asked them, what do you like about the school? And they said the math teachers. And they had an argument of which math teacher was the better math teacher. And I have to say, Ms. Fleckaba's name was in that mix.
Okay. And now I believe it is my turn. I just wanted to say a few things. I had, actually a few of us had a chance to go to the Multilingualism for All team. And I have to say how much fun I have with that group. It's over now, so whatever. But we were, I was having this great conversation with a couple of teachers and students about, what makes a lesson memorable, what is an engaging lesson. And so that's because we were coming up with what would some of the goals or metrics be for deciding whether we had multilingualism for all, so for the strategic plan. So that was fun. We'll see what happens. And then the next thing was, I want to tell you all, we had we had bunch of applications for the Audit and Finance Advisory Council, and they were impressive. I was really impressed by a lot of the people who volunteered for that. I'm like, are these people sure they know it's volunteer? Because we're just getting some amazing resumes. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll keep everybody updated on that. And I did want to say I had the chance to talk to the PTSA Council a bit about the budget, and I do feel that it's important, like, to build trust with the community by saying, what are the specific things that got us into this situation? I mean, a lot of it's the legislature, and we can, I mean, the funding and the inflation and all of those things. A few things in our accounting maybe need a little oversight, which is more oversight, which is why we have the AFAC. We also have the more extensive reports that are coming to the board that I would urge everybody to look at. But I really think that it's important to say what happened and what we're going to do to fix it. So that's it for me. Okay, well, it is now time for break, and we're going to have break until 6 o'clock, and then we are going to have 2 study sessions. One will be on curriculum adoptions, and the other will be finance and budget, the aforementioned report that everybody can pull up on, I think it's on Board Docs now, and they can go through it if they are interested. Okay, so that's it for now. We're on break.